Hi, and welcome to another episode of Latina Leadership Series. It's been a while. This is going to be the first episode of 2022. It's a whole new series. I believe I'm on season 4, interview 1.
Woo! Woo!
On this episode, okay. So I've been following Claudia for a very long time, and I made the excuse to bring her onto the podcast to get to know her even more. So we're going to get to know her together.
All right.
Here's the day. Here's the time where I actually got to know her a little bit on my own. Okay. It's private conversations. All right. So Claudia, on the podcast, I talk about, on the Latina Leadership Series, I talk to Latinas who are in self-development, whether that's in career, family, or overall life.
Oh, okay.
We have conversations about struggles or adversities that have been presented to you, and how did you figure them out, or is it something that kind of resolved on their own, and so on and so forth. So on today's episode, I wanted to ask you a little bit of those.
Oh my gosh.
Listening to part of like what you did in the past for some time in education and things like this, I was like, okay, I want to talk about education. But first, before we do that, let's talk a little about you.
Okay.
Okay. Bueno, Claudia, you're a podcaster yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you do and your podcast.
I sure will. I'd love to share, but I wanted to start first with, I'm honored to be sitting on this side.
You're honored. I'm honored.
And to be considered, to be considered to be part of this lineup. I mean, it's a big deal.
Thank you.
A lot of times when we're in the middle of what we do on a daily basis, you don't see it. But I'm so glad that whatever it is that I do, it could be a little motivation or something that another young Latina or fellow colleague could take and run with it. So thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this amazing, serene, calm room. I'm like, and it's even padded. I love it. Like, if I kind of lose it, I can just go like throw myself against the wall.
This would be it. Yeah, it is white walls.
This would be awesome. It's got like padded walls and everything. But I just wanted to say a little bit about what I do. You want to know what I do during the day? Like what pays for what I like to do on the side?
Well, where I want to start is it's where your love is at, because it sounds like
gosh.
that's where you're at.
My
it sounds
passion.
like yes. Let's start there.
Oh my
what do you do
gosh.
and what do you do there?
So my passion, which is my side hustle, is that I have an online radio show, La Super Comadre Claudia, on RadioCrystalUSA.com. And I've been doing that now for, I think, going on 6 years. And that comes from my first love growing up was when I was a teenager, and I would watch the news, and it was during Gulf War I, the first Gulf War back with Bush one.
Yeah.
And I loved watching the CNN. I loved watching the reporters, and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a news anchor woman, reporter. And then I also loved the idea of being a DJ, like a radio DJ. I love that. And little did I know, I had no idea about my grandfather, Jose Pepe Gonzalez's extensive background in the music industry here in town, and what he did as a musician. And he was also a shoemaker and a bootmaker. And so it was not, when you're little, you're a squinkle, you're a little kid running around at the parties, you don't really know what's going on. You just know that your aunts and uncles are there and your grandparents, and you're celebrating everything and anything under the sun because you're Latina, right? But when I was a young adult, I did not know how extensive that background was with my grandfather and how much it is in me. So I ended up changing my major though at the University of Houston down the street from radio and television broadcasting to education, because I knew that was one of my other loves. But back to my first passion, I changed it in college because I was dating somebody that had just graduated with a radio and television broadcasting degree and literally told me, you're not really going to make it. You might want to consider changing your major. And so whatever. I changed it. But it all worked out.
It does. It always does.
Maybe, it didn't go the way it's planned, but here I am with Radio Crystal USA doing an online streaming show where I interview people. And now what I'm looking now and what I put on my vision board is that it's time to have people that look like you and I on the mainstreaming, having like la mesa azul. I don't know, like there's red table talks, right?
Table, yeah.
Like I'm thinking we need to have la mesa azul, la puerta azul. I don't know, something
Frida Azul. I think that's a color.
Right?
Frida Azul, yeah.
Where we're on mainstream and talking about like issues, struggles, because there are so many of us here in the United States that look like you and I. There's so many of us that are Latina, women, Latinx, whatever you want to call yourself. I love it, whatever, that are doing something that's different than what our grandmothers and tias and our four women warriors, guerreras, did.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to kind of go off the beaten path, and things might not look the same now than, you know, or maybe what was going to be. Maybe that's not what it is, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And so that's my passion is getting people onto my show that are primarily women, because I call it La Super Comadre, because I like the idea of comadreando, but about items that are important, like voting. Maybe it's a person who is running for office. Maybe it's a person that's opened up a business. Maybe it's just a badass mom that's got some really great ideas, you know, to help a fellow mom. Maybe someone in the health industry. Maybe it's someone that is from the neighborhood that started a project that's now taking care of dogs in the neighborhood, like barrio dogs. So I love to highlight journeys, experiences, resources that potentially could reach La Comadre. You know, that's working not just at home, but outside the home, and then has to come back home and work again and make those decisions. And then listen to some music, because we do have some easy listening music. And then, you know, listen to the shows and listen to these amazing people that are coming on to share a little bit about who they are. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So like, if I was to tune in, what would I like hear? I hear what you're saying, but like, for example, what was your last?
So the last one I had Judge Angela D. Rodriguez.
Okay.
And she is seeking her position again. She is a justice of the peace, and she has an extensive background. Her dad was in politics for years, and she talked about being part of a family that established Fiestas Patrias parade and celebrations here in Houston.
Okay, I'm going to stop you really quick, because this is the weirdest thing. You're hearing it on here first. I did a podcast for me and Juan have a podcast called the Juan of Earth podcast. I actually interviewed her opponent on his podcast.
Yes. Hey, you know,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but that's the close knit of the community.
Exactly.
That it is what it is, and may the best woman or man win.
Of course.
It is what it is.
Of course.
And we had a whole conversation also too. But that's so funny that you had her. You know, and I told Juan and I told Luis, because that's who's running against her. Yeah. I told him, I was like, look, if she's willing to come on and wants to have the be part of the podcast too. I was very upfront. I know Luis because he's friends with my sister. So he's a longtime family friend.
Yeah.
So and he asked about it, and I was like, yeah, Luis, of course. I was like, I was like, so part of the conversation was like, I didn't even know a bunch of the things that the Justices of the Peace did.
I know.
He was so informative. I was like, he was like, yeah, we do this. And I was like, what in the world? Like, I didn't even know. No idea. No idea. And I was like, y'all do all of that? And he's like, yeah, that's what we do.
Which is why the angle of me is not so much to endorse anyone. It's just come on, tell us what do you do and why we should vote for that position, because we're just like we're gonna vote for the mayor, we're gonna vote for the president, we're gonna vote for the governor. But then there's so many other positions that we don't really realize how much it affects our lives. It
impacts us directly.
Exactly.
Because I live in the neighborhood that precinct, not that person, that Justice of the Peace is going to serve.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I was so uninformed, and I thought I was.
Exactly.
I thought I was.
Right.
I was like, no, yo sé todo. No, I didn't.
I don't either. I learned, I was over here taking notes. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Because then that leads to other topics to bring other people to talk about wow, now we have more information to further educate las comadres because because las super comadres, and compadres. I also let guys on sometimes. After some serious betting, I do let a super compadre on here or there. But yeah, so what I'm doing right now for this month is doing something that I'm calling Cafecito with los Candidatos. We don't really have coffee in our cup. I don't care what you drink, but we're calling it that. You don't want to know what I had, but it was after a long day of being the school librarian, which is one of my main breadwinning oficio that powers the loves that I have on the side. But yeah, we had cafecito. I'm having cafecito with los candidatos, and I'm having people that are actually opposing.
That's amazing.
Each other, but not on the same night.
Day.
And I let them know. I go, we are not endorsing any candidates because we are a radio station, but we're just bringing people on so you can be informed. So that's pretty much my angle. And I do this. Any person that comes on, I take notes. I have my paper, but I also have my iPad, and I'm constantly just writing stuff because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm in education. That's my primary. That was what I've been doing all my life. And I always look at things like wow, what is that? And not losing that sense of wonder and, and not coming at things like, oh, yes, I had this experience. Well, no, I mean, we're not, every day is another day where you can potentially learn something new. Yeah. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. I like the fact that it's very obvious. I mean, you've been doing it for 6 years, so you know exactly what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do it. But okay, so we know you have a podcast, and I want you to tell the story. It's like why it's called La Super Comadre. I was like, that's amazing. So anyway, you'll hear it.
Oh my gosh. So a while back, I was celebrating my 40th birthday 2 years later. And that's a whole nother story as to why, but I don't want to make you cry, and I don't want to cry right now. But I decided it was a time when Facebook was kind of getting a little bit more, I guess, bigger, and I'm already dating myself. And I had my girls by then. They're now 12 and 13, but back then, estaban chiquitas. They might have, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Again, do the math. And so I just sent out a blanket email and text telling my women friends that I had met through my whole lifetime that I was going to be celebrating my birthday at this movie theater, and we were going to be watching Bad Moms, and we're going to go have drinks, and if anybody's welcome, drinks and appetizers afterwards. And so I had about 25 women show up. And these women, either I met them when I was in elementary school, or I met them in middle school, or I met them in high school, college, in the different schools I worked at, in different roles I had. And I told them, how when you're brown, you got to tell them if the movie started at 7, I told everybody to get there at 6. The movie starts at 6, right? So
they can be on time, so we can all be on time.
So my non-Latino friends, well, they got there I thought the movie was, no, it's not. The time was not for you. It's for the brown people. But and even along those lines, so we had 25 people show up. We were waiting in the lobby, and then I had people from all backgrounds, like language, religion, culture, heritage. And it was like the United Benetton of Colors. I mean, that's I don't even know if you know what that is.
No, I don't.
Okay, never mind. So it was like the Rainbow Coalition.
Okay, that I'm familiar with.
So we're all different looking and everything, and almost around the same age, right? Mujeres that were casadas, divorciadas, dejadas, and viudas, wherever, people with kids, no kids, tried to have kids, lost kids, people that were, different. It was just beautiful seeing this. And finally, one of my girlfriends said, we should probably make a circle to introduce ourselves
because they didn't know each other.
We were, from all,
I realized that different parts of your life were coming together.
Yeah, so they all took a chance. They all took a turn, went around the circle, said who they were, and then we went and had a great time watching the movie and had some drinks. And from there, a lot of my friends became their own friends, had their own thing going. And then one of the friends that showed up was Liliana Elizondo. Props to her because she pulled me aside, and I already knew she had a radio thing going, and I was keeping up with it. And then she said, I want you to come on, it was a Saturday, I want you to come on Monday and you're going to record a show. I said, oh, what? She goes, yeah, I got this radio thing. I go, yeah, I know. And she goes, yeah, I just want you to come and you're going to do a show. I'm going to give you an hour. An hour? What the hell am I going to say in an hour? That's a long time, She goes, yeah, you just come. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, okay. And she had been following what I do with teachers because for 10 years I was an education consultant. So, and I would post like talking with teachers, doing presentations and this and that. And I would make it fun. She goes, yeah, we'll just, talk about whatever you want to talk about. You're really good about education stuff. Do that. I'm like, okay. But I ended up taking that experience of the movie lobby, waiting for the movie to start, and seeing all these women from different backgrounds, culture, language, heritage, just make those connections and how they all walked away seeing that we all had same struggles. Kids, family, partners, no partners, work, professional goals, all that. And
that woman connection is strong.
Yeah. And that's how I ended up calling it La Super Comadre. So from that experience, I made a whole outline on Sunday. I wrote everything, the mission, what it was going to be like, what kind of people I wanted to have on. And then I showed up on Monday and I said, look, it's going to be called La Super Comadre Show. What do you think? She's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I told her why. And then we were both like, all right, here we go.
So that's how you start. Claudia, I love that. And like I told you, there's something that happens that when women get together and we just get together to get together.
Yeah.
People, we have, I don't know, I think it's men apparently in the ancient age who were like, women are going to fight forever. No, they don't. I don't know who the fuck said that. I don't know why they keep like insisting that that's the way it is. Like, oh, I'm going to be, no, this is so hard. It's difficult in a world dominated by men to be a woman.
It is.
Or identify as a woman. It's difficult. It's difficult because anything different than from what they want or would like to see, it's not like it's so hard. And so we understand that, and we're not here to like pull each other down. We're not here to do anything else but like figure it out. You're figuring it out. I'm figuring it out. Like it doesn't. So this whole theory of like I hate the what is it called? The crabs in a bucket, like whole thing.
Pulling each other down.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Or the cattiness.
Yeah,
that we're not catty.
No, that we're associated with. That's what they like to say that we are.
You hit the nail on the head when you said that it's almost like that's been imposed on us.
Yeah.
By a patriarchal type approach to everything that you and I grew up in. Yeah.
When we talked about it a little bit, we were talking about like the expectations. One of the things that I mentioned with you, and I don't think I've ever said it here, is that it's about like if I want to, not if it's expected out of me.
Si me nace
lo voy a hacer. Si no, entonces I never want to feel like, ugh, I don't know why I'm doing this. Yeah. It's already, I don't even know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is it because I need to do it or because I have to do it? And it's not like simple things like, oh, if you have a kid who's 2 years old and you need to feed them, of course you need to. They got to get fed. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in a world where it's expected for you to be the person that cooks and cleans and takes care. And I don't care if you're having a bad day. I don't care if you're sick. You need to figure it out because apparently nobody else in the house has figured it out. So the entire family is going to go hungry because nobody else cooked. Nobody else is sharing the responsibilities of doing the household, right? Yeah. We live in a world now where we know where both parents work. Yes. That's just normal. Yep. It's normal. Exactly. And so in a world where in our culture that a lot of us, from the neighborhoods, we don't make ends meet. So both parents have to work. Yeah. So we should probably start sharing the responsibility within the household also.
Yes. And I was told many years when I was in my relationship of many years that I carried a big chip on the women's lib chip on my shoulder. I was told that. And
they made it out bad for you.
Yes. And it's because I kept my last name. I waited to have kids. I told at that moment, before I got married, and even my dad, who even, well, it has a long story. I was very open before I got married with anyone I dated. Like, these are my goals. I want to be the superintendent of a school district one day. I didn't get that high. I became a principal. That was the last gig I did before I had kids. But my ideas was I was always going to be, I had goals in life. I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to be a superintendent. I saw myself doing big things. And marriage was not something that I saw as something was going to compromise that. And so I was very clear with that. And that scared a lot of people off, like people that I with potentials or people I would meet. Once they heard me talking about continuing education and becoming a superintendent, they're like, oh, this bitch is crazy. Well, just keep on. I'll just buy her a drink and move on. But that was okay. I mean, you cancel yourself out. That's fine. Yeah. And then there was this, I guess, the last man standing. And it didn't happen until we were in counseling soon after we got married that he thought that I was going to be so in love that I was going to move across the states to go back with him wherever he was going. I was going to follow him and follow his career. That I was going to change my last name and that I was going to have kids right away. And I'm like, what? So we paid all this money and you thought I was going to change. You had a meeting with my dad before we got married. He told you that I don't cook, clean, and do all that stuff. Are you sure you want that? She's going to go to college. She wants to do this. She wants to do that. You're good?
That love was going to override all your wants and needs.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm just saying, I'm dissecting this now and sharing this now. This person is now an amazing co-parent. We have great communication now. It didn't pan out the way I fantasized it to be, of course.
The way our parents make it out to be, that the way it should be.
The way it should be. And I can say that I had a plan. My plan was when they graduate from high school plan, our girls, and that, okay, then I was going to go my own way. But back to talking about how earlier we were talking about we're just doing things a little bit different.
Yeah.
And for all of us that may have had to make that move and move out of a relationship and end it, and you did it not because you met someone else or no, you're just trying to meet yourself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I you know, the whole women's lib chip on my shoulder, it came from seeing my dad treat my mom as a child. Like she had to ask for permission for a lot of things. She couldn't wear makeup. She couldn't go to PTA meetings. And my mom still did things on the side. Like she would like, no, pues tengo que ir a la escuela, you know. And she had her amiguitas and everything. But I it wasn't until I got older though that I had an appreciation of that relationship they had. When I was in my own, you know, therapy, that, you know, my mom had to grow up really fast. She became a mom, but not to her own kids. She became a mom to her siblings when she had to drop out of school, help her mom take care of the kids because her mother had depression and had things happening. And then she was here by herself. So coming from Mexico and being on her own with young kids was really a big toll on my grandmother. She was plucked. She had to leave her family to follow her husband to create a better life. Who doesn't want that, of course? But it did take a toll. And then my grandfather, you know, an amazing, hardworking, you know, musician and all that, needed my mom's help. At that time, they were both working, trying to pay the bills. And so my mom became a parent. And then my dad, who was born here, but then during the time that they were picking, I don't know, cotton, oranges, whatever, and then they went back and
they were braceros.
Braceros, yeah. And so and then later on in life, along the way, the oldest siblings came to establish themselves in Houston. Then my grandmother on my dad's side said that, you know, pues Pedro tiene que ir a los Estados Unidos porque allá nació y tiene que aprender el lenguaje, needs to learn English and go to school over there. So my dad came over at 7 years old to live as an extra kid in somebody's house. And so when my parents met, they were perfect for each other. My mom was a mom. My dad needed a mom. And then my dad then became like a father figure to my mom. And once he started working, went to college for a few years, went to the army, and then established himself and was able to take care of my mom. Like the way she should have been taken care of as a child. Yeah. So they were perfect. Yeah. And they're still together. Thank God. You know, they're still together and still kicking it. But then my brother and I were kind of like, oh, well, we got everything we needed. We had Disneyland trips. We had Cancun trips. We had braces. We had healthcare. We had everything we needed. We had PTA mom. We had dad that gave us, you know, we weren't rich, but we had what we needed. You know, Transformers, Cabbage Patch Dolls, all that stuff, if I'm dating myself.
You're dating me at
right?
this point.
So you remember that? You know, so we had the birthday parties. I had the quinceañera, you know, we had what we needed, but there was something that was missing. And I know my brother and I have had our own separate struggles and going to therapy and all this and that. But we are learning. We are having to learn how to have relationships and find how to do that, you know, and
a lot of it is self-exploration.
And expectations of what it should be, because you see your tias, your tios, you see your parents have their relationships. You're like, okay, but we don't know everything until you're older and you're out of their house, right? So communication is one thing that I've worked on, especially a lot with myself, like being real, like getting into my head and like what is up with Claudita, and then also being there for my girls, because I'd rather them learn as I'm learning. I'm able to help them and be confident and secure about what they want, and be knowledgeable of their voice within them and follow that.
First of all, let me say this. I love the way you call your younger self Claudita, because I have that bad habit also of speaking of myself in third person, and people think I do it like in the sense of like now. It's like, no, when I say Angelica, I mean Angelica, past Angelica, not Angelica today. I don't think I have two personas. That's not what I'm saying, but I love that. I love that you call yourself that and you're aware of that. I've never have been able to explain that to people. So whenever I say this on here, guys, I don't mean Angelica in the present sense that I think I'm like separated from myself. I mean Angelica in the past. So first with that, I think that's amazing that you're still trying to not only take care of yourself as an older person, but take care of the person that you needed to be taken care of when you were younger.
Exactly.
And that's brought so much joy. Okay, so you got La Super Comadre, and that's been going amazing for you for the last 6 years, and you're like moving on, and you're doing like more and more and more and more. And I don't know if this is because I've recently like started connecting with you in terms of like through other people, and I don't know if you've been this active, but are you always this active? Like you go to these community stuff that they're doing. Have you always done this?
Yes and
like
no.
You're out in the community, or do you feel like you're doing it now more?
I think I took when I had my girls, I took a big pause too, because I had them back to back. And so they're only 13 months apart.
What do they call them? Irish twins?
They're Irish twins, Irish Mexican twins.
There's a lot of those.
I know.
So we should call them Mexican twins at this point.
I love my girls, right? And then what brought me back was the election of the person that was in office for a while, since 2016, who's no longer there. So that kind of got me back out there. And then I brought my girls with me. And at that time we were together, so we would take our girls to a lot of the the protests, the candidates who were running for office. I've always been in love with the politics too, and candidates, and I've worked on campaigns and what have you when I was in college, and I was active with the Mexican American Studies program down the road at U of H. So I was really, I got kind of grew into my I guess my Mexican side, my Latina, and embracing all that, because I really didn't embrace it before got to college. But yeah, so I took a little pause. I went back into it a little bit during the elections, and then the finally trying to get other candidates to run, and then I stumbled into, I knew in being mom and taking on that role, I left being a principal to be 100% mom. It didn't work out though. As soon as my girls got their immunizations, I was like taking them out, and this was in the beginning of. What was the avian flu, all kinds of pig flus, avian flus, all that. And I was still like, just get the shots in so we can do stuff. So I ended up doing some story time. I ended up taking them to story time. Next thing you know, I was leading the story time. And then next thing you know, I was being offered jobs to come talk to teachers and parents on how to do story time for babies and infants. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I'm back at it again, which was fine. I needed that. Oh my god,
this is amazing. This is I'm barely at show. This is as far as I got done.
That's a lot.
Like, you've done so much.
Oh my god.
So much. So it sounds like it was, at this point, I think it was a stupid question that you've always been in the community. Of course you have. But I've never, maybe it's just me who hasn't been in the community as much to see you part of it. And and all fine by my, and that's okay. All fine. I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now because I've always wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always thought I wanted to do something else. Earlier, you mentioned you were like, I had somebody tell me that I couldn't do show and radio, and that's why I like dropped those classes. I wanted to do political science.
Oh my god!
And I had somebody tell me, I don't think you can do poli sci. You don't fit the bill.
Wow.
And so I was like, well, I'm good at communication, so I'll study that.
Yeah.
It's so fucked up how we let people like into like the things that we do.
This is why as a mom and as I, and when if I'm realizing little by little, and it's your voice, other voices that have told me, you know what, Claudia, there's something you need to do. I don't know what it is. Me neither. I know there's something else I need to do, and I'm just listening to the universe and God, like, what's my next mission? Because there are so many of us. Like, when I say us, I mean us. The current us's, I guess, that are 20, 13, 15 that need to hear our stories. Yeah. So that when they come across someone that tells them that that's not for you, they
remember it. They remember. You know what?
That makes such a fucking imprint.
Somebody, like, they'll tell me, you know what? They told that to my aunt, and you know what, she said that maybe I didn't want to listen, and maybe that was my passion, and I should give it a go. Like, so I have my nieces who are younger, and they watch some of my stuff, and I had them on the podcast, and we were having conversations. Dude, these girls are smart. They're smart. We were talking about, because I mentioned my sister passing away, and one of the things that we were talking about was loss and the effect that it has on kids like them, teenagers. And so they were having, like, real conversations, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. I was like, watch out, world, because here they come. So one of the other things that I did want to mention, that you were saying that you connected with all these 25 women from all walks of life, and you build, and you were very adamant about calling it La Super Comadre, which is very Spanish, and it's very indicative of your Mexican culture. Yes. One of the things that when I started networking, I thought I had to, in order to not to fit in order to build my tribe, in order to build like a community around me, I had to do it outside of the women that look like me. So I've always been good at like having conversations and connecting with people outside of like my culture. That's one of the things that I learned growing up. One of the things that I kind of taught myself to do, it's connect with people on a human level, right? But I thought I had to do it with like other people, because I was like, I guess we don't, because I never seen us like moving. So I thought I had to attach to people from other cultures to like move forward. And I never saw it like and so when we started recording, when we started the podcast, and we started like building a community like years ago, I think almost 5 years ago, well over, I was like, why did I think I had to separate myself to do more? And like, I'm hearing you talk, I'm listening to you, and all of this is like coming to me, and I'm like, you ever see that reel or that meme or that TikTok where it's like, oh man, I fucked it up. Like, that's me. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? I thought that we weren't going to be able to connect, really, like women like me and you, women who sounded and looked like me. And I remember one time to my mentor, about a year ago, I was crying to him, and I was telling him, like, I don't fucking understand. Like, you know, there's girls like me out there and you hear my sad story. I was like, but there's so many, like, I'm one in so fucking many. And because I was like, I was telling him like the things that we would go through and the things that we did, and he's like, what in the world? And I'm like, but the sad part is that I was not that, like, it didn't come out bad for me even in then. I was like, there was girls worse off than me that were like my best friends, like, we're going through it. And I'm like, there's so many of us. Why are we refusing to like not tell our story, because we're so ashamed of it? You know, that's one of the things that I had to get over, I guess, because if I would hear it, and maybe even though you were coming around the kitchen while, you know, people were like the moms and the aunts and the grandparents, las abuelitas, the women, right? While they were cooking or whatever, and then we're all like trying to be on. No, they would run us from the room, but you could still hear the conversations. And you know, and one of the things that I thought as I got older that I didn't like was the judgment part, the judgy part, the like if someone expressed something, like there was sympathy, but it was more like a backhanded sympathy, like, ay, pues ni modo, pues así es, pues así, that's what they get, you know, that. Pues tú te aguantas porque quieres. Right. You know, it was never, So
I don't know if some of those things that were said are somewhat implanted in our DNA.
It was.
That we don't share.
It was. So we keep everything secret.
And then we end up with like anxiety, depression, be it on medication, having to need so many things when really all we just needed to be able to be is be who we are and just express without feeling that we had to give a reason to feel a certain way.
To judge, to feel like we were going to be judged, and just to express, and I get it too. Sometimes, it was rough for them, and they kind of just dealt with it the way they knew how. I mean, we as Latinos, we're so fucking sarcastic.
Oh yeah,
we're
and
so
sarcasmo.
Yeah, we're so fucking sarcastic, especially like in the Mexican culture. We're so sarcastic. You better learn how to laugh at yourself real fucking fast. You better we just this is what we know what to do. Yeah, and so. So sometimes when we can't take it and now you're like, oh no, I'm really fucking feeling it. Like maybe this is not the time. And they're like, you're so sensitive. No, asshole. I'm not fucking sensitive today. Today's not the day. But you know what? So I learned to like be my sister. Was so fucking witty. Like I was like, fuck Erica, like you asshole. But you learn to be like that. You learn to keep up.
Yeah, you do.
And so I just, so I thought I had to like go outside of like, my neighbor down the street to like grow a community for myself, not knowing that we all needed it. Yeah. We all wanted to change the conversation just a little bit. Just a little bit. So the fact that you've been doing it with La Super Comadre is amazing.
Thank you. And it's not just Latinas. I have people that come on and sometimes they're like, well, I don't know Spanish. Like, don't worry about it. I'll do a little bit in Spanglish and bilingual, whatever, Tex-Mex. It's okay. It's the sentiment of your message that is what we are going to focus on. Yeah. Or some people that are afraid to speak English, we'll do it in Spanish. Or they're only English speakers but they want to do a little bit of Spanish. I'm like, do it, whatever you want to do it and how you feel comfortable, because this is what it is about. It's about what do you have that you would like to share, because I've already identified something in you, and that's what you're here for. Salga como salga, no importa. It's going to be funny, it's going to be light, but it's going to be serious stuff. I mean, I've had everybody from, sometimes it's not that serious, but we try to make sure that there's information. Like I had Leticia Manzano from the Houston Area Women's Shelter. I mean, she came out to talk about domestic abuse and what that looks like and how to make sure that resources are there, that there is some help for you. No te quedes callada, like the way we were raised to be, I have my super comadre who's African American, Stephanie, who came on and she talked about the importance of voting. One time I had two women who of African American descent who are educators, and they talked about the talk that they have to have with their young, African American young sons before they go out and drive a car on their own. And because Latinos sometimes are like, whatever, no, this is a real thing. So it's like bridging too, bridging, and sharing, and then also finding commonalities.
And being able to have those conversations. Those, sometimes we think it's going to be a tough conversation, and sometimes it's not tough. It's just an understanding.
Exactly.
So, but okay. So Claudia, okay. I'm like, realizations are coming. Like, I'm like, I like it. Oh my God.
Me too.
And this is what I did. And I can't believe I did that. I'm so stupid. And I let somebody like talk me out of doing poli-sci, and I could have been a campaign manager. Yeah. Like I could have been like fucking out there and doing all kinds of anyway.
But I already forgave that person. Yeah. In my mind. Yeah. I'm never going to talk to them again. Actually, I looked him up one time on Facebook and I found him. And I almost like even the bird, like, fuck you. But anyways, I did find him. Yeah. His name is Craig. He's some white guy.
Pinche Craig.
Fucking Craig.
Yeah, no, don't be telling women shit.
It's okay. But I forgave him. He doesn't know I forgave him. I forgive you. And
sometimes we say things that are in us. Yeah. And that we don't even know that we're doing, saying things. And maybe that's what Craig happened, that he was second guessing what he was doing. And he just had to tell somebody else. It's the shit. Yeah, I'm telling you.
You're right, because
I'm telling you.
I didn't pay attention to everything, but he did say that he had to travel here and there, and he didn't make it. It was hard for him. Yeah. But for him to stand there and tell me that, and for me to believe this, because, you grew up thinking that the white person, I have to say this, but if you see that, Yeah, that the white person or the Anglo person.
El gringo sabe, yeah.
El gringo sabe, that's usually in charge of everything. When you hear someone telling you that, they're, well, he must be right.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something that I had to shake off too.
Did not do. You know, I did that once a couple of years ago. I remember I was visiting somebody. Well, I went to another state and I was visiting somebody. And then they mentioned they wanted to live somewhere, like here in Texas. And then out of my stupid mouth, I said, I don't think you can make it. Why the fuck would I say that? I didn't realize, I realized later and I was like, okay, that was never fucking okay.
Yeah.
How, what the fuck would you know? How can you know? And I remember the look that I got immediately. And then I kicked myself after that. Anyway, long story short, I invited this person back out years later to like dinner. And I apologized, you know, not for that specifically, but for because I might have said some stupid things before. Again, it was me. I was saying things that I thought I wasn't sure of that I could do. And so I was like reflecting instead of just listening to her, instead of just hearing her what she had to say. There I am running my mouth because I thought I knew better. That's a whole other journey.
Sometimes it's one of those knee-jerk things because that's maybe what you heard. Maybe that was in your culture at home. You know, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Like last night, oh shit, I just had a brain fart. Okay, you said something that sparked a memory. Oh, my girls were upset today because one of the girls that they invited couldn't make it, and she was on the chat, on the text, and then they started texting pictures, and she then took a picture of the group and then shared it with some other group text from school, and they were really upset about it, and they couldn't believe it. And I tried it, and I listened, but I said, you know, sometimes people do things. And it's not because of you. It's because of them. Because they were all saying, oh, she's jealous of us. And I'm like, she's probably jealous. But you have to, you don't know where she's coming from. You have to, learn to let that go. It's not about you. I've had to learn that. I've had to learn that where I get commentary and I have to just like, it's not about me, Claudia. It's not about you. It's about wherever they're at. And that's okay. When you were sharing about your son and the name of your son, it reminds me of this person that I had to constantly tell myself, there's nothing wrong with you, Claudia. He just didn't choose you because it's just not an alignment. And that's hard. That's hard because, who wouldn't fucking want to be with me? But then I had to realize...
It's hard not to take it personal when it's very fucking personal.
It is. It's super personal. But then I had to realize, okay, it's just not an alignment, and that's okay. And I have to still hold on to this idea that I am an amazing person.
You are a good person.
Yes. And I need to hold on to that because even though you know it, but then when you're not chosen, it still hurts. And I talk about that not just in the personal life, but also professional. So if you don't get the gig, that's still kind of like, well, why? And now it's more like it's just not an alignment.
It's not for you.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I now at night and during the day, I have to remind, I literally will physically come out of my mouth like, I'm a good person. I deserve love, respect, and I say that, and even before I go to sleep, I'm a good person. I deserve love and respect, and please until I have a good dream. Let's not have lucid dreams where you're like naked from the waist down. Apparently,
you could do that too. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but like I'm hiding usually. I'm always like. I have these terrible dreams, lucid dreams, that where like I'm jerking in in physical life. And my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I think I'm not okay. Let me just. But then you have those dreams where you're like, I hope I don't wake up. But
oh my gosh!
But it is. I'm thinking about those fucking dreams now. I can't get them out of my head. I'm like, where was I?
The show has taken on a new turn.
It has a whole new one. Okay,
and that's okay.
Okay, we'll come back to it if we remember. We'll come back to it if we remember it. Oh my God. Okay. So you during the La Super Comadre, you kind of touched on a little bit about the education that you were doing, and you have an extensive one. And I would like to know from the education portion of your career, what has it taught you? Ooh. I know you're a learner, but what has it taught you not so far, but I guess earlier on, or so many years?
Wow. Say what you want all the time. Don't hold back. That making decisions are not always the most popular ones, but they're the necessary ones, and that's okay. It might cause rift. People will survive. Another one is constant communication. All this is kind of new. I'm all as old as fuck, but I am going through a lot of things where I sometimes think if I would be, it's really easy for someone to say, well, if I was a principal, especially now during the pandemic times. But really, if I were the principal again of a school, there's a lot of things I would do. I would be a better listener.
Okay.
I would be, I would approach things not with always with my heart. Make sure that there's a balance between the brain and the heart. When you're putting something out there, don't think about everybody and what they're going to think about. Think about what is the mission and what needs to be done in regards to the mission and how is it going to support the kids. Which, if it supports the kids, is going to transfer to the teachers. And it's okay to step away from your career if you need to. That's one that if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. There's this line that a lot of people use. Fake it till you feel it. There's only so much faking you can do, and then you just will lose yourself.
Fake it till I make it has done me some damage, and at various points in my life. There was only so much that I could do that I just, because it starts to show. So the things that I was embarrassed about were embarrassing anyway, because it started to show in other ways. I wasn't being communicative. One of the things that I have a bad habit of doing is that I can be aggressive with my tone, with my words. And I'm not that it's a good quality to have when you are trying to get your message across, but it's not a good quality to have when you're trying to listen. So I was like, okay. So I was like, okay. Faking it and going into spaces where I know what I'm talking about. Faking it like I was listening. You walk out of the room, you had no idea what the hell was going on. And all you knew was that you were like damaged goods at that point. And I was like, damn it. I was like, okay, Angelica, you better fix it. You better fix it, girl. You better, whatever it is that's, I don't know if it's external, internal. I don't know. Maybe you need more vitamins. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, more sex, vitamin something.
Vitamin D.
I don't know. Which vitamin D we're talking about, whatever.
Again, sarcasm. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I can roll with that.
I do. Okay. My listeners are of age, so you get what you get with us. So I didn't know the X-rated.
It's 18 and over show now.
So, but I didn't know what it was, and faking it just didn't work. It worked out at some point, but it doesn't work out for everything.
No, it doesn't. It's like, your incredible self-awareness, what you're sharing with me right now, there's a time and place for everything too. There's a time, there's that song. Oh, there's an old song. Never mind. I'm going to quote it. But so it's no, when you talked about, because I look back and like, well, what would I do different? Because honestly, when the pandemic started, everyone was coming to me. What would you do? I'm like, I'm not the principal. Not my monkey, not my circus.
Not my monkey, not my circus,
But it's hard to keep myself in my little circus because I've been there and I'm like, we should do this, we should do that. Blah, blah, blah. And then I was like fucking getting anxiety attacks because I know that we could do something better because that's what I'm used to. But then I had to realize, Claudia, you're good where you're at. Just calmate. Just worry about the people in front of you. You're not running the school. Let them just do you, boo. That's what I heard a lot. Lisa Ortiz, my teaching partner that fucking got me through the pandemic year of teaching. Thank God I shouldn't say this out loud, but man, I was struggling when I came back to the classroom. I had not been in the classroom for years, and I came back because I had to come back because I was on my own. I had to get my own insurance and all that. And I came back and I came into the classroom and they were asking for stuff left and right. And I'm like, the hell they want? When am I supposed to teach? I'm like, I got these struggling kids and they're like 6th grade on a fucking 3rd grade level, 2nd grade. You want me to do what paperwork? Well, that's one thing I would change too. If I was the assistant principal or superintendent, I'm like, there's a lot of crap that has been, that it's like, is there somebody in the room just coming up with one more thing for the teachers to do, and then pass it on down. And I'm like, I get it. We do need accountability. I get that. We do need to keep up with kids and how they're doing with their reading, math levels. That's the basic shit. I get that. But we do need to make sure that we're documenting for kids that need special ed at some point. I get that. But there's so much more. And I'm like, how the fuck do we teach? Girl, at some point, my sciatica gave up. My sciatica was kicking in. I was like literally curled up in a fetal position in my classroom. And I had to tell the kids to go next door to my teaching partner's room because I had to just take a moment to just stretch that shit out. And I was literally in tears. I was taking all kinds of pain meds. And the pandemic hit. Girl, I was like, I shouldn't be saying I was jumping for joy, but literally the pandemic literally saved my life for a bit until I got sick with COVID. But anyways, that's another story. But it made me, we went home and I wasn't struggling every morning and getting to school and losing that joy of being in the classroom with kids, because I was back in the classroom. I was like, but your resume says you were a principal. Hell no, I don't want to be no principal right now. I already did that. But your resume says, yes, it does. You can call them up, but I ain't gonna do that. I was a reading interventionist. And that means with the kids that have issues with reading, you go in there and you intervene. And I love doing that. But then I went back into the classroom because I followed my kids to their school, and I was the principal there was like, hey, I got this position, it's reading. I'm like, okay. It wasn't just one group, it was small groups of kids. It was like a classroom. I'm like, okay, that's fine, I can handle this. But I'm like, dude, that pandemic hit, and I'm kind of thankful in a way. I'm sorry for everyone that has greatly been affected by this, because so many have. I don't want to take light of that. Yeah. But it did make me fully aware that being in the classroom again was just not for me, and that was okay. So back to what I do different, I would let teachers know, like, dude, it's okay to throw in the towel. It's okay to say, you know what, this just is not for me. But just give me the heads up. Don't leave on me in December. Let me know in December you're not coming back so I can find someone. Like that's what I would do, that it's okay. Like if you find something in the district, like that's a positive thing. Like before, people that got promoted to the district is because you were fucking it up at the school. Let's move her up. Yeah. So that was like you got a promotion and you got pulled out of the school because you were messing it up. and anyway, so now I'm just like, you need to find where you need to be. If you're on, they always tell you, find another seat on the bus. You know, that whole bus thing analogy. Sometimes you just got to get off the bus. And the bus is not for you. Maybe it's just going in the wrong direction for you. You got to get off. Get off. Like, get on the other bus. I think you need to come back for round 2. Oh my gosh, because we need to pick up, and I have so many questions. There's so many topics I want to touch with you on. Okay. I think it's important. I think you have the experience, you have the expertise, and there's so much that you can teach. Yes. And honestly, I'm going to use this podcast as an excuse to learn. Oh my gosh. I hope you're okay with that. Oh yes. Oh yeah. So I'm ready, and whatever it is that I could do to support especially up and coming people. And letting them know, hey, it's okay not to be okay. That's another thing too. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to say I throw in the towel. It's okay to be all in your feels. It's okay to know when. It's okay to be vulnerable. I guess and not just in education, but in anything. I now take that in any field arena that I could share that, because being fake it till you feel it is not the way to go. No, it's not. Being shiny about everything and not, and I when I would share and be vulnerable, and you have to figure that out too. When you share some things and you have what you think are some people that are part of your tribe that kind of push back and say, oh, we'll just get over it. We'll just do this. We'll just get up and get to it and do it. And I'm like, I'm not asking for you to tell me that. I just want you to listen. Yeah. And that's it. I'm not asking for you to, I know what I need to do. I just need someone to listen and just, that's it. But because there's so much, like you said, there's so much more damage being done by not being true to what you're feeling inside, what you're actually saying. So I think for me, fake it till you make it. It works for only momentarily. Like if something is wrong and you can't, that moment, you can't recess to it and you can't attend to it. Faking it in the moment works.
works. I'm not saying it's not useful. What I'm saying
Yeah.
is it works for in the moments, but
Yeah.
for like a life lesson,
Yes.
probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
It's
So reconsider
knowing
it.
when. It's knowing when. And, of course, there's sometimes when I have to, wing some stuff. I'm really good at winging stuff. And I probably need to go back to therapy as to why.
Where you're good at winging it.
Yeah, I'm good. Like I can take any, if I show up to an organization that needs a speaker and this is what we're going to talk about, I'm like, boom, what do we need to say? Okay, got it. Let's go.
You know what? I'm oh my God. I'm telling you, this is why I'm good at winging it when it's like in moment conversations and stuff like that. Not like I'm going to get up and speak in front of people. What I'm good at, really, really good at is last minute shit.
Yeah, me too. Procrastination.
Yes. I work my best under pressure.
Me too.
Why? No
That's
fucking idea.
That's
No
another
fucking
reason
idea.
why, and that's therapy.
Yeah.
And I belong to the National Hispanic Professional Organization. I've been, and that's where I met. That's where earlier I had to meet Ilsa Garcia, who is an amazing chair that leads this organization. She took it by the reins and just lifted it into shape. And lifted it up, and with all of us that are on her board. And how did I meet her? I met her in 2018 at the aquarium when there was a membership drive for NHPO going on, and we kind of like met a little bit, talked a little bit, and that was it. Then she started asking me, "Hey, I got this thing. You want to come and be a part of it, and do a podcast or do a show?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." That's how we met. And I thought about like, how did I meet Itza? And then now we do a lot of work together with the board, and she's one that's I've really learned how to put myself out there again.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to say what you need and what you want. Don't give a fuck anymore. And maybe that comes with age too.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
A little bit with age.
Yeah.
And that's one thing too is carrying forward what it is that you want to do now the way you want to be and not under anything, anyone else's expectations. And so many things that we do, sometimes there's a script and here's your speech and sometimes we show up and it's like they tell you verbally and I'm like just really writing some notes in my hand or whatever, and then you just go. And how I'm good at that or how we are good at that, that's just a whole nother show. Yeah. And we probably need to bring the counselor in because
somebody to explain to us.
But then I say, do we really want to know?
It's a whole do
we really want to know? Because I asked myself, do I really want to explore that, or should I just run with what I got? Because I took this this personality test with the NHPO board.
Did you?
Yeah, and it tells you who you are. Man, I maybe
I'm so
subconsciously I left it behind at my house. But I have been carrying that results portfolio forever. Yeah. And we didn't have a board meeting for a while. I forgot, probably pandemic, and I was holding on to that. And then the moment we were going to have a meeting, when we came back the new year, everybody bring your portfolio. I couldn't find it. Maybe I didn't want to find it because I didn't like what it said. Oh, shit. I'm like, where the hell was I and what state of mind was I when I answered these questions? Because I really suck.
I want to retake.
I like, I have to do over. And then everybody talked about, there's 12 of us or 13 of us on the board. Only 2 of us have the combination of what I have. Okay. I'm a fucking wear your heart on the sleeve kind of person. I am very unbalanced where my heart leads. But there was a shift, and I shared with you earlier about that shift of empowering Claudita and defending her and not allowing for someone to take advantage of her. Yeah. And that happened on January 1st of 2022. It's never too late, folks. And so, and another event experience that happened just this past weekend where I've never done this before, like so clearly and so calmly and so aggressive, and that's okay. Like you said earlier, like I'm aggressive. I want that. I want more of that in my life. Because I am such a let's everybody get along. I would love to offload this to people. Let's everybody just let's work this out. Okay, yes, there's a time for that. But then there's times where I'm gonna have to be that person that's gonna have to just be that bear, and that's okay. Like Mama Bear, I guess. I was in line at a coffee shop, a very well-known coffee shop, a chain, and I'm not gonna mention the name, but I was just minding my own business, and my 13-year-old daughter was behind me, and we all had our masks on. Not everybody has their mask on anyways, but whatever. But I think it was a mask thing. I don't know. But this man behind me with his mom, I overheard him ask my daughter, what is this a line for? What are you in line for? And my daughter said, well, we're in line to order our drinks. Oh, okay. And so then he went around the line, went to the front barista at the desk or the front of the counter. And then he came back and you could tell I was on my phone looking down, but then I looked up and I caught eyes, and then his eyes, but I didn't say anything. I just casually looked up and looked back down, and I overheard him as he was passing my daughter and I up to the back of the line said, "Thanks for the fucking wrong information."
To who?
Exactly. And I said, this happened in seconds. I'm like, okay, it wasn't for the barista because the barista's way the fuck over there.
Yeah.
Okay. And now he's passing my daughter and I.
My blood just boiled. Listening to this.
Oh yes.
Okay.
My daughter and I were just right here in the vicinity as he was saying that, and he wasn't saying it that loud, so it's not like he was saying it loud for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
And oh my God. I turned
because your daughter heard him.
Yes, I turned around and I just laid it out on him. And he was like, oh, look. He started, like, coming back at me. Oh, no, I don't need you. I was waving my hand in his face, like, trying to shut him up, like, doing that shush. Yeah. You know, like, oh, no, you don't. And fuck you this. I cussed him out, too, because he started cussing me out. I'm like, fuck you. I cussed him out, too. And my daughter was like, okay, Mom, let's go. And so I walked away. Well, I didn't walk away. The lady at the, we were moving along in the line. Nobody left the line because we were still going to get our coffee, girl. And then he wanted me to apologize. I'm like, I'm not going to apologize. And blah, 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 and you took it wrong. I go, I didn't take it wrong, you know. And so then I ordered my stuff. I walked off.
So stupid. Yes. Sometimes folks just shut the fuck up.
Just shut the hell up.
Just shut the fuck up. Like if somebody gave you the wrong, what is that?
Whether it's my daughter, which is fucking wrong because she's a kid.
Well, hold on. First of all, your daughter didn't work there. Why would you ask her? Ask the worker.
Exactly. And
anyway, okay. So then,
so I walked away with me being able to handle that, say what I needed to say, handle it without shaking, without losing what I wanted to say, without losing eye contact. Yeah. Because in the past I would try, but I would get so angry and so frustrated and start crying. And this time I was like, after it was over, I'm like, who the fuck was that?
Oh, hell yeah.
Claudita really stood up now for Citlali, her daughter. Yeah. And me. Yeah. And then, girl, as I walked away, and then some guy that was some real estate guy saw the whole thing. He's like, "Ma'am, are you good? Are you all right?" I go, "I am now, but that fool over there was blah, 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 blah." Oh, I didn't know that happened. I go, "Yeah, but you know what? That's okay. I can call the mayor's office right now. I can call so-and-so. I know so-and-so from the fire department. I know assistant. If I have issue, if he has issue and he wants to start something," I was loud too. And my daughter told me that when I was saying, dropping names. Yeah. He kept turning around and looking, but would turn back around and just, and then he walked away with his drink, the opposite direction.
Good. I go, come right. Oh my God.
So welcome.
Something similar, not like that happened, but we were at some new location, hype location. It was cute, but it was like for the young folk, and we showed up apparently, and we show up, and some of our friends are there, and we're out sitting outside. It's this thing called the Secret Garden.
Oh yeah, I know which one. Okay,
so we were there. We were sitting down. Beautiful young 20-year-old girls like walk in, and it's cold, right? And they have like their mini skirts. I mean, they're showing like their figure, and I'm like, oh, like they look really pretty, like a group of 4 or 5 of them like walking up, and so they called attention. Yeah, beautiful Latina girls, dark hair, like dark eyes, and they called my attention, and I was like, oh shit, like they're pretty. And right off to the side there was a guy, a girl, and 2 girls. Yeah. And they were white. Okay. As they're walking by, one of the girls that was sitting next to the guy, she had their back to them. And I guess because people were like turning to look to see who was coming. Yeah. So she did the same. Yeah. And she looks, right? And as they're passing her by, she stops and then she turns this way. And she's like, and she looks up and down. She's like mouthing something to the other 2 girls that were sitting there with her. The other 2 girls, like the girls had already passed, so they seen them too, but we're like they made this face like, and they like look towards the girls again. At this point they're all facing me because the girls are walking behind me, and I'm like, these fucking bitches. And I say that very rudely, very respectfully, these fucking assholes, man. And I look and I stare one at them, and I'm like just looking at her because I'm like fucking like I'm darting, like creating a hole in her forehead, right? And I'm looking at her. I make eye contact and I look at her and I drop my face like, I'm watching you.
I'm watching you.
I'm watching you. And she looks straight at me. She's like, she looks away. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you? You as a woman.
Exactly.
Do not fucking, like, whatever you're fucking, call your friend out.
Exactly.
Tell her, hey, enjoy yourself here. Like, not like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you bother telling these girls something? No, why?
No. Of course not.
Hell no. Like, it's even personal to me. I'm like, you know what I mean?
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I looked at her. I was like, looked at her like,
I do that
you're
too.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever watched somebody do. Yeah. Have your friend fucking talk shit and all y'all look around and be like, oh yeah, stop.
Just stop.
Stop it.
Just stop.
Leave those fucking girls alone. They're out here trying to have a good time. They're not, like, what did they do to you? Walked in beautiful? Like, what did they do to you?
I don't. What? I don't. What,
but it wasn't.
¿Qué vas a ganar?
But it wasn't even women. Like, it wasn't like a thing like a woman against like women or whatever. Just this one. Like, the other girls didn't even pay attention, but because I guess they were there with their friend, they didn't call their friend out on it.
Yeah. Wow.
There was no accountability from any of them at that moment, and these girls they weren't bothering anybody.
Yeah.
They were just all very beautiful. They were walking in. Fuck, they called all of our attentions, and maybe that's what they wanted, and they accomplished it. And so what?
And so be it.
So
just be happy. Like, I'm all like, did they hurt you? Did it have anything to do with you?
Yeah.
Let people be.
Yeah.
You know, let people. And now that is such a big reflection on their whatever turmoil they have inside.
You know what? But it's not even women, because men do that shit too.
Yeah, that's true.
Men do that shit too. So I'm not even blaming this woman. I just happened to be very upset because it was a woman doing it.
Yeah.
I was like, usually I kind of expect it out of men.
But when you threw in the white thing, the white Caucasian,
because I've seen that before happen.
And I understand, because I've done that before. I've given that look, like, where I see, like, I think I know where this is about to go. You know that song? I think I know, and I'm just waiting.
You're just looking at it.
I'm just looking until they finally feel me, and then they turn around and
yeah. It's like, don't fucking stereotype them.
No.
Don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Because I have a feeling, I think where this is going, and I will, and, you know, men, women, whatever, or I happen to be like, maybe not, you know, maybe in a situation where there's not a lot of Latinos, and then you can't help to think.
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Here's the thing. Had it been white girls wearing short dresses like that, would those girls would have turned around with their funky faces like
probably not.
No, they would have been smiling like
Exactly.
And I can't help to think if that was the reason.
Yeah. I hate to assume, but unfortunately that's where we're at in this day and age. And now it's like, how do I make sure that my girls, and that's a whole other topic, but my girls, as they get older and they leave my home and their dad's home to be on their own, college, whatever, that they will come across these people that are going to be their age, that potentially grew up in a household that they heard that people that look like me, like my daughters, are less than, just got here, took advantage, you know, this and that. So now, not only do I have, and then also with this whole, you know, men or people that think that it's okay to do certain things with women, grab them by the, you know, the vagina and this and that, grab them by the pussy. You know, now I'm going to have to teach them not only to defend themselves verbally, but physically. Because there's going to be some asshole in college or wherever they go, you know, to make their world and their life, they're going to come across these people that think it's going to be okay. And then they're going to see someone that's brown.
You've heard the statistics, right? 1 out of every 4 women before the age of 18 would have been sexually assaulted or physically, or had been like in some form of, like, maybe they have like a part-time job and somebody's like coming on to them and being like, that
statistic is that low. I mean, that's small.
That's small.
1 in 4.
1 in 4.
By the time they're
18. So, and that goes stems from everything. I mean, we're including rape, we're including molestation, we're including all kinds of stuff. Anyway,
unwanted.
We can.
Wow. Yeah.
We can have but good
which
for
is
you.
Another reason why this is super important. The Latina Leadership Series of leadership comes from communicating, speaking up, standing your ground, you know, saying what you want, even when your voice is trembling, even when you're afraid, knowing that being vulnerable and also being assertive and aggressive, that all of that, we need it all. I don't care what I wear, and that's what I want to wear. If I want to wear short skirt, I want to wear short skirt.
Yeah.
If I want to wear long pants, I want to wear. If I want to look like a fucking nun, I want to fucking look like a nun. I want to be in chanclas and whatever.
I'm making the effort of like actually looking at both not both extremes. Well, it would be extremes, like in the sense of this, that like I've made it a conscious effort to watch Muslim women who wear the entire hijab and only show their eyes, like their YouTube videos and what they do, and the conservativeness of them, you know what I mean, trying to understand and not be judging. And I also follow and watch vlogs from strippers who talk about stripping, who go to this, you know, to the strip clubs and how they do it and what they earn and like all of that. I'm like, I have to, I really need to inform myself, and I don't. And so because I'm doing this whole women empowerment, and I can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like you said earlier, like how did you say it earlier about the candidate? Like I'm not endorsing anything. I'm talking to you about the women aspect of things. And so, yes, I was very bothered by this one woman judging these 5 girls, like coming by, and their 2 friends didn't call her out on it. And like, hey,
chill out, dude.
Hey, come back. You're enjoying yourself. Come, like, don't. It's okay. They're fine. They're fine. Let them be who they are.
Exactly.
It's none of your business.
None of your business.
They didn't do it. I mean, if a guy came and touched one of them, then it should have been in your business. You'd be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Don't be touching her like that. Anyway, but good for you for like that take on that you did. That mama bear came out on you, and good for you that you were, you know.
So I want to retake that test again with the board. I'm gonna take that test again because I don't think that was accurate, and I've been through a lot of changes and transitions.
Well, when you take it, let me know. So maybe, because I've never taken one because I am afraid. I've taken the personality test like online, and I'm like, that's not true, and I try to do it again.
Right? I'm like, that's not me. That's not me. Okay, that's me.
Yeah.
But I you know what? And then now towards the end, okay, I'm embracing, and now I embrace it, and I know it just confirms what I've always known.
Use it as your strength.
And I use it now as my strength. And now it's just being around people that are vocal, that are assertive. And I notice a pattern though. Most of maybe like 70% of the women that more than 70, are exactly the opposite of me. So they're louder, they're more assertive, they know what they want, and I've learned from them, and that is what I've harnessed and was able to do on just recently. When I told someone off, besides the guy at Starbucks, it's harnessing years of, first of all, embracing that I'm okay the way I am, but then knowledgeable of, okay, I know I'm a more heartfelt person. I'm less on the logical. Let me try and balance that out. And then age, unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, is age. But I'm not saying that for all of you that are younger, you know, own yourself. Own yourself, know yourself, be self-aware. And that's
so again, there is a lot more, because I know you gotta go. You gotta go, and we can talk and talk and talk. So I'd love to invite you back on and have another conversation, do a part 2. I mean, this could be like a whole all kinds of parts, because I think there's certain topics that I want to touch with you. I don't know if we can do it in just one, so we will continue the conversation. But Claudia, where can we find you? If my listeners go and they're like, you know what, she's fucking badass, because she is, go look for her. Where can we find you?
So you can find me all over social medias, as my daughters put it. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. It's Claudia I Macias, all one word. I'm also on YouTube with my RadioCrystalUSA.com, where we do our YouTube show there, and it's Radio Crystal USA, either on Instagram, on YouTube. But if you follow me, I connect everything. So if you follow me on one location, you can follow me on the other. Where else? I'm on TikTok. Claudia I Macias again. It's all under Claudia I Macias, I for Isela. And so you can find me on all those social medias. And I do. So I'm excited to come back in the future and share and talk and this is a year where I'm doing the Chronicles of Claudia. It's a podcast, another podcast I'm doing on the side, but I haven't released all that stuff. It's just me going through the journey of healing Claudita.
Okay. So if you're listening to this on Facebook, we're going to go ahead and link her info If you're on Instagram, we're going to go ahead and tag her. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go look for La Super Comadre. Go listen to her. She's doing amazing things out here. But we'll have her back soon. So, Claudia, thank you so much. If you can just do me a favor and wave at my camera. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
With that, we'll see you next time.
Adios.